Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the landscape of your life, you must confront a truth many people spend years avoiding. You were not designed to merely grind. You were designed to grow. There comes a moment when the hustle, the exhaustion, the endless pushing no longer produce the breakthroughs you desire. And that moment is not a sign of failure. It is a divine invitation to shift. You are standing at the threshold of a new dimension of productivity, clarity, and purpose. This is the season where you stop wearing yourself out with effort and start aligning yourself with strategy. You were never meant to toil your way through destiny. You were created to operate with wisdom, precision, and intentionality. Hard work may build muscle, but smart work builds momentum. Hard work drains you, but smart work develops you. Hard work keeps you busy. Smart work makes you effective. And effectiveness is what opens doors, attracts opportunities, and positions you for influence. Today, I want to awaken the part of you that knows you were created for more than long hours and short results. I want to stir the visionary within you, the part of you that knows you are not here just to survive the grind, but to master your life with strategic brilliance. This is your moment to shift from effort to efficiency, from burnout to breakthrough, from striving to stewarding your gifts with excellence and intention. You are about to step into a new paradigm where your mind becomes your greatest asset, your clarity becomes your compass, and your strategy becomes your accelerator. This is the hour to stop working harder and start working smarter. Let this be the moment your life pivots into purpose-driven productivity and supernatural results. There comes a time in your life when sheer effort is no longer enough to carry you into the future you were created to inhabit. You can push and press and hustle and grind, yet find yourself standing in the very same place wondering why the needle has not moved. There is a point where working harder becomes a cycle of diminishing returns. And it is in that moment that life invites you into a new realm of understanding. It invites you into the realm of strategic alignment. Because destiny is not powered by sweat alone. It is powered by clarity, intention, and the wisdom to channel your energy into what produces real transformation. Working hard may keep you active, but working smart keeps you advancing. Working hard may build endurance, but working smart builds results. And the shift from hard working to smart working is not a downgrade of effort. It is an upgrade of identity, an elevation of consciousness, a refinement of purpose. To walk in strategic alignment, you must first recognize that your life is not random. You are not a collection of scattered efforts or fragmented dreams. You are a purposeful creation, equipped with gifts, insights, and instincts designed to function in harmony with your destiny. But when your energy is spread thin, when you are chasing everything, responding to everything, trying to do everything, you dilute your potency. You decrease your capacity to focus your strength where it matters most. Strategic alignment requires that you stop functioning out of obligation and start functioning out of intention. It requires you to step back from the frantic pace of constant labor and ask the deeper questions. Why am I doing this? What is the outcome I truly desire? What is the most effective path that aligns with the vision I hold? Many people confuse movement with progress. They confuse busyness with productivity. They confuse exhaustion with accomplishment. But movement without direction is a treadmill, lots of motion, no advancement. Busyness without clarity creates stress, not success. Exhaustion without alignment leads to burnout, not breakthrough. Strategic alignment means you stop doing things simply because you have always done them. It means you stop trying to prove your worth through work. It means you recognize that your power is not in how much you expend, but in how well you direct what you carry. Strategic alignment shifts your thinking from how hard can I work to how strategically can I operate. It moves you from being driven by external demands to being led by internal clarity. This kind of alignment begins with vision. Without vision, you will waste time, energy, and resources on things that do not contribute to your future. Vision focuses you. Vision disciplines you. Vision selects for you. It tells you what deserves your yes and what demands your no. When you operate without vision, you say yes to everything. And in saying yes to everything, you say no to the best version of yourself. But when vision governs your decisions, you no longer work to simply stay afloat. You work to move forward with purpose. You stop clocking hours and start cultivating outcomes. Strategic alignment also requires you to understand timing. Not everything demands your attention right now. Not every project deserves immediate investment. Some things may be good, but not good for this season. Some opportunities may look attractive, but they might not align with your long-term direction. Smart working means you operate according to the timing that supports your highest goals. It means you develop the discipline to pause, to plan, and to prepare. It means you recognize that speed without strategy leads to mistakes, but patience with clarity leads to mastery. One of the greatest barriers to strategic alignment is the belief that doing more equals becoming more. But the truth is, the most impactful people are not the ones who do the most. They are the ones who do what matters most, consistently and intentionally. They identify their core strengths, they understand their unique value, and they commit to operating in the areas where their brilliance has the greatest impact. When you work hard without strategy, you dilute your influence. But when you work smart, you multiply it, you amplify it, you elevate it to dimensions you never imagined possible. Strategic alignment calls you to elevate your mindset. It demands that you stop approaching your life as a series of tasks and start approaching it as a strategic operation. Every decision becomes intentional. Every action becomes meaningful. Every step becomes a seed planted in the soil of your future. You stop rushing and you start refining. You stop reacting and you start orchestrating. Smart working is the art of putting your effort where your purpose already is. It is the discipline of aligning your daily habits with the destiny you claim to desire. This shift also requires that you stop equating sacrifice with suffering. You were not designed to live in perpetual depletion. You were not created to operate from burnout, exhaustion, or overwhelm. When you function from alignment, you understand that your energy is valuable. You begin to treat your time as a resource, not a burden. You begin to guard your mental space, your emotional reserves, and your creative capacity, because you can only build a powerful future from a place of internal strength and clarity. Smart working honors your humanity while maximizing your potential. It acknowledges that self-care is not a luxury. It is a strategy. Rest is not laziness, it is preparation. Reflection is not wasting time. It is sharpening your focus. Strategic alignment means you learn the power of delegation. You recognize that just because you can do something does not mean you should. Your destiny requires you to release what drains you so you can invest in what expands you. It requires you to empower others, to build systems, to leverage tools, and to create structures that support your long-term growth. Working smart means you stop being the only one carrying the load. Stop micromanaging your life and start architecting it. You stop trying to be everywhere and start being exactly where your presence produces the greatest impact. This level of alignment forces you to confront your relationship with control. Some people work hard not because they must, but because busyness distracts them from clarity. Busyness shields them from having to sit with themselves, from having to address the deeper fears and insecurities that keep them locked in cycles of overwork. Strategic alignment requires vulnerability. It asks you to acknowledge where you have been operating out of fear instead of wisdom. It asks you to identify where you have settled for survival instead of pursuing excellence. It asks you to release the belief that exhaustion equals achievement. As you begin to work smarter, you reclaim your creativity. You create space to think, to imagine, to innovate. Hard work may build a routine, but smart work builds a revolution. It allows you to step back and see the bigger picture. It gives you breathing room to analyze what is working and what is not. It empowers you to pivot without panic, to shift without fear, and to evolve without losing momentum. Smart working is not about doing less. It is about doing right. It is about maximizing what has been entrusted to you by aligning your actions with wisdom and intention. Strategic alignment requires introspection. It asks you to examine what habits have become hindrances, What patterns have become prisons? What choices have become chains? It requires you to identify the activities that drain your energy but do not elevate your life. Many people are tired not because they are doing too much, but because they are doing too much of the wrong things. They are investing their strength in areas that bear no fruit. They are pouring into efforts that produce no return. Smart working demands honesty. It pushes you to evaluate your life through the lens of purpose, not preference. When you operate from alignment, you begin to see opportunities differently. You no longer chase every open door. You discern which doors are designed for your destiny. You understand that success is not about accumulation, it is about alignment. It is about being positioned strategically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to access what has already been prepared for you. Working smart means you operate in rhythm with your calling, not in reaction to your circumstances. Strategic alignment also requires confidence. It demands that you trust your intuition, your vision, and your ability to discern the right path. You cannot work smart if you doubt your own brilliance. You cannot work smart if you constantly seek validation from others. You cannot work smart if you are afraid to step into new territories. Smart working is an act of courage. It is the decision to operate from a place of knowing, not guessing, from a place of purpose, not pressure, from a place of clarity, not confusion. As you embrace this shift, you become a curator of your own environment. You surround yourself with people who support your vision, not drain your energy. You build connections that elevate your thinking. You engage with relationships that reflect where you are going, not where you have been. Smart working is not just a strategy, it is a lifestyle. It is a mindset. It is a way of honoring your potential by aligning every part of your life with intention and purpose. When your life enters strategic alignment, you begin to see a transformation in the quality of your outcomes. You accomplish more with less effort. You produce more with less struggle. You move further with less resistance. Because alignment breaks the cycle of friction. When your actions match your purpose, momentum becomes your companion. Opportunities gravitate toward you. Resources find you. People who resonate with your vision begin to appear. Streams of clarity open up. Creativity strengthens. Confidence expands, and your life begins to flow with a rhythm that replaces strain with strategy, pressure with purpose, and exhaustion with excellence. Your mind is the command center of your destiny. It is the place where your future is conceived, constructed, and released into motion. If your life is a garden, your mind is the soil. If the soil is unhealthy, nothing you plant will flourish. If your life is a building, your mind is the blueprint. If the blueprint is distorted, the structure will collapse under pressure. Everything you hope to build, everything you desire to accomplish, everything you dream to become begins in the realm of thought. Your mind is not just an instrument, it is your greatest asset. It is the birthplace of your potential, the engine of your decisions, the architect of your outcomes. And if you are going to stop working harder and start working smarter, you must learn to steward, cultivate, protect, and elevate the power of your mind. Most people spend their lives managing everything except the one thing that governs everything, what they think. They manage their schedules, but not their thoughts. They manage their responsibilities, but not their beliefs. They manage their activities, but not their inner dialogue. They work endlessly on the outer world while neglecting the inner world that shapes it. But smart working begins with mental mastery. It begins with understanding that the quality of your life will always reflect the quality of your thoughts. If your thinking is scattered, your results will be scattered. If your thinking is small, your possibilities will be small. If your thinking is limited, your life becomes confined. But when your mind is clear, focused, empowered, and aligned, you become unstoppable to steward your mind. You must first understand its influence. Your mind is constantly constructing narratives, assigning meaning, forming expectations, and shaping your interpretation of reality. Two people can experience the same situation and walk away with different conclusions, not because the situation was different, but because their minds processed it differently. Meaning is not found in events. Meaning is created by thoughts. And the meaning you assign will determine the decisions you make, the emotions you feel, the opportunities you notice, and the outcomes you pursue. When you steward your mind, you take control of that meaning. You decide what a moment will represent. You determine how you will interpret experiences. You choose the narrative that guides your life rather than allowing your past, your fears, or your environment to choose it for you. Your mind has the power to either elevate you or imprison you. It can either open doors or close them. It can either propel you into purpose or sabotage your progress. When you operate from a mindset of exhaustion, scarcity, fear, or self-doubt, your actions will always reflect limitation. You will work harder, strive more, chase endlessly, and still feel behind. But when you operate from a mindset of clarity, confidence, creativity, and conviction, you become strategic, focused, intentional, and powerful. You begin to understand that productivity is not the outcome of force, it is the outcome of mental alignment. To steward your mind, you must become intentional about the thoughts you welcome. Most people's thoughts run without supervision. Their minds are open doors through which fear walks freely, discouragement settles, doubt takes a seat, worry becomes a companion, and distraction roams like a thief. But the mind was never meant to be an unguarded doorway. It was designed to be a disciplined environment. If you do not direct your thoughts will direct you. If you do not command your thinking will command you. And if you do not cultivate the mental patterns that support your purpose will struggle to manifest. Smart working requires mental boundaries. It requires the discipline to reject any thought that diminishes your power, your focus, or your future. It requires you to develop a mental filter that screens out anything that does not align with your destiny. You begin to notice when a thought is rooted in fear, and you choose faith. You notice when a thought is rooted in scarcity, and you choose abundance. You notice when a thought is rooted in limitation, and you choose expansion. You notice when a thought is rooted in doubt, and you choose confidence. You no longer allow your mind to drift into negativity, chaos, or confusion. You learn to interrupt the patterns that drain your energy and replace them with patterns that elevate your effectiveness. This stewardship requires awareness. Most people think, but they do not observe their thinking. They feel, but they do not question the thoughts that produce those feelings. They react to life without examining the mental scripts that guide their reactions. But smart work begins with mental self-awareness. It means you listen to your internal language. You notice when you are telling yourself you cannot. You notice when you are convincing yourself you are not ready. You notice when you are rehearsing old fears, reliving old failures, or anticipating the worst. And once you notice, you choose differently. You choose thoughts that align with the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. Your mind must be fed strategically. Just as your body cannot thrive on junk, your mind cannot thrive on mental clutter. The content you consume, the conversations you engage in, the environments you expose yourself to, these are not neutral. They either nourish your mind or they pollute it. They either elevate your thinking or they distract it. They either reinforce your potential or undermine it. When you begin working smart, you become intentional about what enters your mental space. You choose information that educates, not entertains your stagnation. You choose conversations that inspire, not drain you. You choose environments that stimulate growth, not keep you small. Smart working requires mental clarity. Clarity is not just knowing what you want, it is knowing what you do not want. It is the ability to separate priorities from noise. It is the ability to focus on what matters without being pulled into what is irrelevant. Clarity transforms your mind into a strategic instrument. You stop overthinking because you are anchored in purpose. You stop second guessing because you trust your direction. You stop comparing because you understand your own lane. When your mind is clear, your decisions become simpler, your focus becomes stronger, and your productivity becomes effortless. Your mind must also be expanded. To work smart, your thinking must stretch beyond your current limitations. Many people do not grow because their minds are confined by familiar patterns. They think the same thoughts, solve problems the same way, and dream within the same boundaries. But expansion requires you to think beyond your history, beyond your surroundings, beyond your comfort zone. It requires you to ask bigger questions, imagine bigger possibilities, and explore new ways of operating. You cannot step into a larger life with a smaller mind. Expansion is the gateway to innovation. It is the birthplace of new solutions. It is the spark of creativity that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Smart working requires mental courage. Your mind must be bold enough to envision what your hands have not yet built. It must be strong enough to hold on to a direction even when obstacles appear. It must be resilient enough to override doubt, criticism, or temporary setbacks. Courage in the mind precedes courage in action. If you cannot think boldly, you cannot act boldly. If your mind is timid, your steps will be hesitant. If your mind is fearful, your progress will be slow. But when your mind becomes courageous, your life becomes unstoppable. The way you speak to yourself matters. Your internal dialogue is one of the most powerful forces shaping your destiny. The words you whisper internally can either weaken you or empower you. They can either plant seeds of faith or seeds of failure. They can either reinforce your brilliance or magnify your insecurities. Smart working means you speak to yourself with intention. You affirm your capabilities. You reinforce your strengths. You remind yourself of your vision. You encourage your growth. You talk to yourself the way a leader talks to someone they believe in. Because you cannot rise externally while speaking defeat internally. Your mind must be disciplined. Discipline is not restriction, it is liberation. It frees your mind from procrastination, distraction, emotional impulsiveness, and mental clutter. Discipline trains your mind to focus on what is necessary, not what is convenient. It teaches your mind to remain steady when emotions fluctuate. It strengthens your ability to prioritize purpose over impulse. A disciplined mind does not waste time. It does not chase trivialities. It does not drift aimlessly. It stays aligned, attentive, and anchored in the direction you have chosen. Smart working also requires mental calmness. Chaos in your mind creates chaos in your results. When your thoughts are tangled, your decisions become rushed. When your mind is overwhelmed, your productivity collapses. But a calm mind is a powerful mind. Calmness gives you the ability to evaluate without panic, to choose without pressure, to operate without fear. Calmness is not the absence of challenge. It is the presence of internal authority. When your mind is calm, you become steady, grounded, strategic, and effective. Your mind must be renewed continuously. Growth is not a one-time event. It is a constant evolution. As you step into new levels, your thinking must adapt. Old beliefs that served you yesterday may limit you today. Old strategies that worked in one season may fail in the next. To work smart, you must be willing to update your mental frameworks. You must remain teachable, curious, and open to new understanding. Renewal is the engine of advancement. It keeps you flexible, innovative, and progressive. Mental stewardship also means eliminating internal sabotage. Many people are hindered not by external barriers, but by internal opposition. The fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of imperfection, fear of success. These fears operate in the mind like invisible chains. But when you steward your mind, you confront these fears. You dismantle them. You challenge their validity. You replace them with boldness, courage, and confidence. Smart working requires you to free your mind from the invisible barriers that attempt to shrink your greatness. Your mind must be trained to think in systems, not randomness. Smart working is not about reacting to life. It is about designing it. Your mind becomes strategic when you think in patterns, processes, and structures. You begin to understand how actions connect, how decisions compound, how habits accumulate, and how small choices produce long-term outcomes. When your mind thinks in systems, you become more efficient. You accomplish more with less stress. You eliminate wasted effort. You maximize your output. You shift from working harder to working smarter because your mind is functioning as a strategic engine rather than a chaotic machine. Your mind must be future focused. When you think only about the present, you make short-term decisions. You settle for convenience over purpose. You choose comfort over growth. But when your mind is future-oriented, you operate with vision. You invest your time wisely. You make choices that align with long-term success. You develop habits that support your destiny. You work smart because you understand where you are going and why. Your mind must be empowered to make decisions. Indecision is one of the greatest thieves of productivity. Doubt delays action, hesitation drains time, uncertainty slows progress. But when your mind is trained to make clear, confident decisions, your life accelerates. Smart working requires decisiveness. It requires the ability to evaluate, choose, and move. A decisive mind eliminates wasted time, wasted emotion, and wasted energy. Protecting your mind is essential. You cannot allow negativity, criticism, or toxic influences to shape the way you think. You must establish mental boundaries that protect your vision, your confidence, and your emotional well-being. You guard your mind by limiting access to those who bring confusion, not clarity, discouragement, not support, chaos, not peace. Protecting your mind is not about isolation, it is about preservation. You preserve your energy, preserve your focus, preserve your potential. Your mind must be trained to embrace growth, not comfort. Comfort is the enemy of progress. It keeps your thinking small, predictable, and safe. But growth challenges your mind to rise. It pushes you to stretch beyond what feels familiar. It pushes you to think differently, act differently, and believe differently. Growth requires discomfort, but it produces transformation. When your mind embraces growth, you unlock dimensions of possibility that hard work alone could never access. Your mind must also learn the power of reflection. Reflection sharpens your thinking. It helps you learn from experience, identify patterns, and refine strategies. Smart working is built on reflection. It allows you to understand what worked, what didn't, and why. It helps you adjust your approach. It helps you become more intentional, more strategic, and more effective with every new decision. Your mind must be trained to focus on solutions, not problems. Problems are inevitable, but your response is a choice. When your mind fixates on the problem, you become overwhelmed. When it fixates on the solution, you become empowered. Smart working requires solution-oriented thinking. It requires you to shift from anxiety to analysis, from worry to wisdom, from panic to purpose. Your mind must be connected to purpose. Purpose gives your thinking direction. It gives your decisions meaning. It gives your actions strength. When you understand your purpose, you stop chasing everything and start choosing strategically. You conserve energy. You work efficiently. You operate intentionally. You work smart because your mind is anchored in what truly matters. And as you continue to steward your mind, you position yourself for breakthroughs that are not born from effort alone, but from clarity, wisdom, and strategic thought. When your mind becomes your ally, your greatest asset, you stop working harder and start working smarter, not because you do less, but because you think better. Purpose-driven productivity is the art of aligning your effort with the reason you were created. It is productivity that emerges not from pressure, but from purpose, not from exhaustion, but from clarity, not from fear, but from conviction. When you operate out of purpose, everything you do becomes intentional. Every action becomes precise. Every step becomes calculated in the direction of your destiny. Purpose-driven productivity is not about doing more.